Nonprofits have had to shift the way they're raising funds during the global pandemic, and it's been challenging for many. We're joined today by Princess Hyatt, Executive Director at Horizons at the Ethel Walker School. Princess is going to share with us how she and her team are helping young girls meet their academic goals through innovative conversations with philanthropists. Welcome to Coffee Time with Masterminds, 30-minute conversation with leaders of mission-based organizations. If you're just joining us, pop in the chat and let us know where you're from. My name is Rebecca Tuttle. I'm the founder and principal of Grant Right Now and Grant Writing for Good. We help schools, nonprofits, organizations, and businesses find, write, and secure grant funding, and we teach you how to do it. I'm joined today by my two co-hosts, Cynthia Rojas and Peter Blakely. Welcome, Cynthia. How are you this morning?
I am good. How are you?
I'm great.
Hi, everyone. I am Cynthia Rojas, founder and principal of To Your Growth.
Good morning. I am Peter Blakely, and I am the founder and principal of Blakely Consulting.
Hi, Peter.
Good morning. Good to see everybody.
You too. Today's guest, Princess Hyatt, is a Hartford native. She received her Master's of Science in Nonprofit Management and Philanthropy. Her fundraising experience began at her alma mater in the Institutional Advancement and Alumni Relations Department at Pine Manor College, and continued in the Universalist Association in the Stewardship and Development Department in Boston, Massachusetts. She's actively involved in the Urban League of Greater Hartford Young Professionals and the African American Development Officers Network. Princess brings a wealth of knowledge and experience to the nonprofit sector, and we are thrilled to welcome her to Coffee Time with Masterminds this morning. Welcome, Princess. How are you this morning?
Good morning. Yes, it's snowing. Let it snow, let it snow.
Let it snow. How are you this morning, Princess?
I am good. Happy Friday. We
Yes.
made it.
Thanks for coming on.
Thank you for having me.
Princess, tell us a little bit about the Horizons program.
So the Horizons program, our Horizons program at the Ethel Walker School happens to be the first all-girls Horizons program. We are an affiliate program. Horizons National is kind of our parent organization. So we have 60 other affiliates in the nation. And our offerings are year-round. Our mission is to serve girls, specifically in the greater Hartford area. And we want to improve their educational outcomes, their life trajectory, while reducing summer learning loss.
So one of the exciting reasons that we brought you on the show is because you've had to shift your programming and in a really innovative way. Do you want to tell us what are some of the things that you've had to do?
So I branded 2020 the pivot year, the year of the pivot. Everyone has had to shift in some way in like this emergency mode due to the pandemic. We had our fundraiser in March, and it was in person, and all of a sudden that had to be canceled. So then we had to have our first ever virtual fundraiser online. We immediately shifted from having our Saturday Academy program in the spring to having a homework assistant helpline. And that was for students who needed to catch up with their assignments at school or who needed that extra help. And we had so many students who benefited from that because they were falling behind. Things like loss of internet or not having an adequate device. That offering really came into play for our students who needed it the most. And then we had our first ever virtual summer program. And so you can imagine having an in-person experience with swimming, field trips, suddenly shift to this online mode. We turned that into our Horizons at Home summer, and we had packages, STEAM kits, devices for students who needed them, groceries, because we do provide lunch and breakfast to our students. And so some of those immediate needs were more addressed at this time, and we just had to make sure that's what we addressed right away.
Wow, that's interesting. So the homework helpline or hotline replaced which programming? I didn't catch it.
It's a Saturday Academy program where we bring our girls to the Ethel Walker School every Saturday in the spring.
Got it.
And so we couldn't do that. I think the need was more of our students having that help with their assignments. We had one student who was behind about 60 assignments, and she was able to, these were half an hour sessions with our one-on-one tutors, right? So it's very different from the class space. And she was able to little by little catch up.
Wow, that's amazing.
We have heard so many stories about mission-based leaders collecting data very rapidly, processing it, and innovating new programming.
And it's so funny you say that, because we have had to partner with our schools that we work with, our feeder schools, in more of a way than we did before. And so I was talking to principals, I was talking to leadership, and they were like, we don't know how many students have not logged on. And I said, well, I've been reaching out to all my students one-on-one because I want to hear how the families are. It's very different where we usually speak to them in the summer, and then now we have to kind of have some programming where we keep that touch point.
When you first started reaching out to parents, what were you hearing? I'm sure a lot of overwhelm.
It was devastating. Some of our parents were essential workers, and they had caught COVID at the time, so it was a very scary thing. You know, it's the beginning of the pandemic, and then they had to go back to work after they got better. A lot of parents were, losing their jobs. We had parents who had to choose between schooling and letting their girls get online, and then having to go to work. We had students who could not watch the news at all. Like, it was just so overwhelming. Our students, imagine our students, what they're going through. I think the mental health and wellness piece will be huge. It causes trauma.
Yeah.
But I think the most important response to that unsettle is building trust. And by reaching out to parents and really letting the families know that you're there for them educationally, but also just that human to human consoling. That's so important, especially because kids don't understand what's going on. Mm-hmm. And then when they see it, that lack of understanding, but also the shock of it all. And then to realize, wow, this is happening around us. It's devastating.
I think one good thing, well, there were some good things, more than that, but the parents were so happy to get a phone call from me. They were like, oh, we were expecting to hear from you in the summer. And so I had some really good conversations, long conversations. And so that trust building piece is really huge. I think in my first year, it was important for me to get to know our families and our students. And this gave me the chance to do that. So there were some pros in this sudden shift of our offerings and our program.
I love that there was some pros.
So I'm sure a lot of people are asking, right, how did you pay for it? Right? You had money allocated for one program and you ran a different program. Tell us about that process. How did you make that happen?
So, like we said, we had to cancel our fundraiser. We had to shift into this virtual online fundraiser. My board is so supportive of this whole, shift. A lot of my board members were giving more. We had existing relationships with our funders. And so I think that's really important. If you have a long-term relationship with a funder and you can explain to them that, man, this has changed. We really need this to be shifted in some way, our funding, reallocations, repurposing, they'll understand. A lot of our funders, like Lego, Mortensen Foundation, they've been long time supporting us and they want to continue to see our program and our girls flourish. So they were understanding of that. And a lot of people are understanding. We're all going through this thing. We don't know what's going to happen. And it's the first time.
That's what I think is one of the major differences in this time, is that no matter, how you've experienced other crises, this one, we're going through it throughout the world. And it doesn't discriminate. Like, it's one of the few times that I've seen leaders affected, staff affected, the populations we serve affected, all at the same time, and often the same way. Mm-hmm. Financial crises, kids having to move back home, families coming together, people getting ill. It's affecting all of us.
Oh, it is. It is.
Yeah. Yeah.
I just wanted to welcome Thaddeus and Renee to the show, and we have a new viewer with us today. Her name is Cecilia Carolina Delaney. She says, "Hello, I'm Cecilia Delaney from Argentina, living in Spain. Welcome to
Oh, wow. I was just saying I want to go to Spain. Yes.
Well, we'll live vicariously through her today."
What's the weather like?
Viewers, we love knowing where you are watching from, and also if you have questions and comments, please continue to put them in the comments.
We do have some comments here. We just have, it says LinkedIn user. This makes a great impact, reaching out, not waiting for funders to come to you, but coming to them. And then I really like this comment here. That's very true. Funders are supporting their funded programs across the border. Absolutely. Absolutely. Now, we've had some amazing leaders on this show, and we're so grateful to have you with all your philanthropy and your development expertise. And you've spoken about how you're innovating and adapting, but can you speak a little bit more about fundraising with schools? And because a lot of times we hear fundraising with nonprofits for human service type programs or social services, but I'd really like to hear more about the partnerships that you're forming with the school districts and how you are blending the philanthropy within the school as well.
Well, I think like overall, this has been a huge learning curve for me. So I went from, fundraising and, talking about alumni relations and things like that to being in this educational, K through 12 world. And I think like a lot of our partners, we work with Jamoki, we work with public schools, we also work with prep schools and charter schools. I think a lot of us have been leaning on each other when it comes to this education system, knowing that everything has changed. And so I'm really leveraging our partnership and resources in that way. And so I've been working a lot with nonprofits, more so when it comes to philanthropy, at least, than our schools. I know I was just talking to a principal, and $10 million is now flowing through Connecticut for use of education, funding like that, due to the pandemic. And so that's not flowing in the same way for some of us nonprofit. And actually, a lot of grant makers have shifted their funds or their regular grant funds to support COVID relief, right? So nonprofits that I've been working with, Women's Mentoring Network, they're offering digital learning online for parents and families who need it. And that's going to benefit my parents and families as they're teaching and learning with their students at home. And so I'm leveraging those partnerships in the nonprofit world more so. But even with our schools, we've been like having monthly check-ins and seeing where we can kind of help each other. That's really important, I think, as we all go through this for the first time, to leverage our relationships and our partnerships.
What's fundamentally different about a time like this, about trying to run an intervention in a time like this, is most of our mission-based programs assume that the environment around the program is pretty stable. And they've got a logic model that focuses on one problem and addressing that problem with a set of resources. Right now, the pandemic and all of the follow-on effects of the pandemic are going to be affecting every member of a family and every resource in a community simultaneously. So we got to think in a much more 3D way about how we're tackling these things.
Oh, definitely. Flexibility, creativity, innovation. Some things will change in a better way after this.
I wanted to bring up this comment from Cecilia. She says, trust building with donors and planning in uncertain conditions is important. Yeah. Princess, of all the adaptations and innovations that your team has made, even though we don't have a crystal ball, it seems like they have been extremely beneficial to the gains your program already makes with summer learning loss. Do you think that you'll continue these innovations in the future, even when the pandemic is behind us?
Most definitely. Right now, we're doing a virtual book club with our students. We're having that homework assistance helpline on Saturdays with some of our students. We have a virtual event coming up. I'm making my plug right here. It's it's in honor of our founding director, Isabel Ceballos, and her leadership in founding the Horizons program. So please join us for that. Find our Facebook, like us, and RSVP. But a lot of these things that we're doing, some of them are low cost, right? So we went from having this huge fundraiser where we, charge these amounts of money for people, and then to this virtual space where it's more open to all, and we're spending less money, and we're making more of an impact. And so some of those things we can most certainly use for the future.
Yeah, I think fundraising events are going to change moving forward. And so you said earlier in the pandemic, you had to cancel your fundraiser, right? So how were you able to have one months later?
So I have to say thank you to my committee members, our event committee. We were getting ready in March, and then like 3 weeks before the event, we had to cancel. And they've been, standing, cheering, planning still. And so we had to shift into this virtual fundraiser. We called it an evening of magic. We talk about the program and magic. We talk about COVID and how it has affected even the event. But how the need is like more than ever. So that was our pitch to our supporters. But it was emergency mode. So we had this event. It was very different. But look at us right now. We're all online. We're talking about our program, our COVID, and we make it work. And so it will definitely change what fundraising looks like. But that's a piece we can kind of move forward and be innovative and change it and for the best way we can.
Well, I think one thing I think is really interesting is that we're in the northeast of the U.S. It's snowing outside. We all live in 4 different parts, and if we were live, we probably would have had to cancel this. Right? Snow. And how is it in Boston, Peter?
Oh, it's snowing. Yeah, it's getting checked.
Yeah. It's coming down.
Yeah.
Yeah, the travel. Just getting to each other. Yeah.
So one of the things I'm hearing, Princess, is from the very beginning, you've been innovating, changing, adapting, assessing needs. Like you've been on the go. And tell me what you've learned about yourself as you led through all of this.
I have learned so much. So little history here. This is my first year as ED. Last year I was the director, and I was working very close with the founding director. And so there was a learning curve already, just learning the ins and outs of the program, our donors, my board, and just building a relationship with our principals, our teachers, and our students and families. And then the pandemic hit, and so, I think this is real resiliency, definitely. Leading in adversity. I had a child over the summer during our summer program. And then the civil unrest and all these things that are happening in 2020 that you get through, you survive, and it'll make you stronger. I've gotten really close to my board members. I've gotten close to my families. So I think normally in an in-person program, our students would get dropped off to our bus stop and then go to our program. The Horizons at Home made it possible for our parents to come and pick up packages, learning supplies, all the things they needed at home. And so that was a parent-facing opportunity for me to get to know my families in that way. And so, like I said, there were some good things that came out of this. But I've learned, do what you can, but be flexible, lean in more. Certainly being more vulnerable. I had a breakdown in one of my staff meetings. I was just like, this is a lot. And so usually I'm like, nope, I'm to myself. I don't want to, share. But this was a time for us to really build with each other, feel it. And I got inspired through all of that.
Wow.
This is one of the things that we have talked about is how this time is making everybody more human.
Yes.
You know,
Yes.
I mean, we are just physically in each other's houses all the time. We're seeing each other's partners and pets and children.
Mm-hmm.
And it's creating a new way that people work together. The distinction between work time and people time, family time is eroding. And I think that that's ultimately beneficial.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I've been thinking about like what's different, and I usually, at work, people don't meet my husband. They know about if you're friends with me on Facebook. But yeah, since we've been working from home, everybody I talk to has in some way met my husband because he's usually behind. Well, this is his office as well.
Yeah.
So it's been Peter talked about people coming into your home and meeting your family. Like everyone meets the dog on Zoom.
Mm-hmm.
Almost everybody has met my husband, where before you would never meet my husband, right? You just meet me. I'm the only one in the office. So it's been different. It's been different. How do you so you have this strong sense of let's roll up our sleeves and push through this, but how are you motivating your staff and helping your staff through this? Because people are being impacted in different ways. And so some people are not stepping up to the plate and saying, okay, let's plow through, but they're really overwhelmed by the
So
amount of things.
that's a great question. In March, I felt like I had my back against the wall. You had your board asking what are we going to do, when are we going to make the call. You're asking questions to people who are also asking the questions. It's a big circle of unknown, uncertainty. But I think when you're in this and you love what you do and you know what your students and families need, you kind of have to prioritize. I know our teachers, especially in the summer, so we have our girls are pre-K through 7th grade, which means we have to hire an assistant teacher and a lead teacher for each grade level. So we had about 20 staff members come on board, and my message to them was to be flexible. We were open. Let's make this fun and engaging. I think connection. You may think that connection online is guaranteed. No, I think our connection needs to be different from the emergency school year mode that just happened from March, April, May, June. We can have a little more fun. Also have engaging and fun opportunities. And I knew our students, having to go through that. We have to be flexible, even our teachers. So that was my message to them. And we were just, we understood what the dynamics were. So we had some touch points with our teachers who volunteered with me, who I was meeting for the first time. They helped put the packages together. So we had some time together. I think building trust is huge in this. I also work with Grace, who I'm going to give a shout out. She might be listening right now, but she's been awesome. She's our AmeriCorps Business Associate full time. And she jumped right in,
Wow.
and I think that's what we just plow it out. We do what we can. Her and I have great communication, and we inspire each other. My board members were also on board with everything we were doing. And I think, yes, it's hard, but not doing anything at all is not beneficial to anyone.
Right.
Yeah.
I love that. I love that. Yes, it's hard, but not doing anything at all is not beneficial. So,
And how are you collecting feedback from families? Or, how do you know that you're on the right track and that what you're doing is working?
So we had like small activities. We towards the end we asked our girls, what does Horizons mean to you? I'd encourage everyone to watch that video. I watch it so much, it's on YouTube. But we asked the girls, what does it mean to you? Even in this whole pandemic. And they responded, a lot of them said, I still feel like this is a sisterhood. I feel safe, like it's a safe place. So imagine like this new virtual space still feeling safe. Our parents, we had a survey that we sent out to them. A lot of the parents were so excited with our programming to see that their children was learning more so in a fun way than they probably would have at school. So that was interesting. But we've heard good feedback so far. I think one of the things like attendance, we can't control. Some students can log in on one day, maybe another day they can't. child care, things like that we can control. Some things worked, some didn't. I think overall I'm satisfied with our virtual programming. And so we're continuing that, and we'll continue to get feedback because, things change. It may not work for some than it does for others.
Right.
And it's a rapidly changing situation.
Mm-hmm.
I think, I'm an evaluator, and so we're used to thinking in like 3 month, 6 month, 10-year spans.
Definitely.
And right now it's all about rapid cycle testing, right? Try something, gather feedback, incorporate the feedback, and communicate it back. Because everything is
a bit about that. Because I said that we work with other affiliate programs. So we were doing the same thing in these weekly meetings, trying to figure out what works for each program and what doesn't. Yeah.
That is a great model.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Oh, we have another comment, and then I want to ask you a question, Princess. Our comment is LinkedIn user, our friend LinkedIn user.
What a weird name! Somebody's first name
is probably like private.
Tell us who you are and where you're from. They appreciate you sharing this useful information. It's great to hear how the Ethel Walker School is thriving through these challenges. Absolutely. Yeah. I just wanted to ask Princess, when we were on our Grant Writing for Good show last week together, Princess, you had shared the Horizons Pledge. I don't know if you have that available to share with us today.
It's easy. I'll say it for everyone. It's really inspiring. It's something that our girls recite every day in the program to themselves, and it kind of uplifts them, and it also uplifts their sister, right? So I promise to lift other girls up, have their backs, and make it safe for them to be exactly who they are. Every time I look in the mirror, I'll remind myself that I am not alone, that I am beautiful, that my voice matters, and that I am enough.
Yes, I love that. I love that. Yeah. But also, Princess, there is something that I want to highlight because I think it's important for people to realize your board really got behind you. And so you had a good foundation by which you could stand upon. And I say that because it's important for board members to realize that leaders need them. Right? Yeah. They need them to do exactly what your board members did. And you said things like they trust you more now. You've been able to build stronger relationships with them. And so that had to play a nice role in your ability to plow through these hard times. So kudos to your board, and hopefully people who sit on boards realize that they play an important role.
I also have to shout out Ethel Walker School because they are our host school. Most of our programs sit under private institutions, and they host us. And so Ethel Walker is my family, from their board to our head of school, and another shoulder to lean on.
Wow, this is amazing.
Cynthia, I was thinking this whole time as you just had made that comment about the importance of communication, and Princess has been telling us all the ways that she is supporting her students, her teachers, her school, her organization. But it's really nice to point out how she has that support as well from members of her board, from volunteers, from the teachers and the school itself. I think that you're very well positioned to be able to deliver your services, whereas other nonprofits don't have that support on either side. Or maybe they have it on one and not the other. So I think just going to get to the takeaways because we're coming towards 30 minutes is how important. I know we can talk fast.
It goes fast.
But just how important it is to voice your concerns and voice yourself when you feel like you need more support, either for the folks that you serve or the people that you work with, or even yourself in the role as a leader of a nonprofit organization. So I really appreciate you sharing all of this today, Princess. I think it's going to inspire other people who are watching in similar roles to know that they're not out there alone, and they just have to speak up.
Definitely. Shout out to my board chair who made sure we had our bi-weekly meetings during the pandemic. And she's like, Princess, what do you need from us? Let us know.
Oh, that's
I'll do it myself. I'm good. Not this pandemic. Everybody is all in.
That's great. And they're lucky to have you. Your programs are awesome. So, Peter, do you have a takeaway for us today?
I think that the takeaway is that this kind of rapid and creative innovation rests on a foundation of really strong relationships and really good communication. Yes. And Princess and her organization have been able to leverage a whole lot of trust to do innovative stuff and be really responsive to families' needs.
I'm going to quote you, Peter.
How about you, Cynthia?
Well, I'm taking away a lot. First, we did a survey in the state of Connecticut with nonprofit leaders, and many of them are struggling with their board relations during the pandemic. And a lot of it is, again, people are being impacted, right? All kinds of people. The pandemic is not discriminating. And so that's to bear witness to someone who had the board stand behind her so she can lead, what is beautiful to see. So thank you for that. And I'm also still taken away by the sentence earlier you said, doing nothing was not an option, right? I mean, and so, sometimes you get up because you have to do something. So those are 2 takeaways. Sorry, I cheated.
That's okay. I know the other co-host, and she's super flexible. So we'll let you do it. Princess, this was fantastic. Thank you for your visit today. If you could leave our Coffee Time audience with any message on your way back out into snow today, what would it be? What inspiring message do you have for everyone?
I pulled my son up because, always everything I do with love. You can ask anyone. I'm like upbeat, happy. I want everything to work. I want to be positive. I don't focus on what we can't do. I focus on what we can do. So I'm easily dismissive of the can'ts or not possible. In my eyes, we can make it happen if we have all the right players, even resources. It's out there. So don't take no for an answer. Do it with love. Do it with passion. Be impactful, but also be intentional.
Thank
I
you.
love that. Do it with passion. Thank you so much for joining us today, Princess. This was a great conversation, and we will see you all next time on Coffee Time with Masterminds.
Have a great weekend, everybody.
Congratulations. It's such a beautiful baby boy.
Yes.
Thank you. I'm giving you virtual hugs.
Oh, he is beautiful.
Hugs back.
And everybody have a safe and happy Halloween.
Oh, yes. Halloween.